Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Thursday. It is Things to Think on Thursday, and while I wait for some people to get on, or come on, I got some cards. They're two-sided, so these could go forever and ever and ever and ever. I actually found these at a secondhand shop while out with some cousins, doing their thing and just tagging along. Let's see. It's amazing what you can find in places. Oh, there's some. Let's just start with those because, like I said, there's a lot. And they're both sides, so they're two-sided, so that helps a little too. I hope everyone is doing well today. Got a big topic, jumping on the soapbox today. So let's see. First one from Malcolm Forbes. Occasionally indulging in a do-nothing day is more than worth the price. So again, occasionally indulging in a do-nothing day is more than worth the price. Sometimes those little rest days are just priceless, right? Let's see, from Kellyanne Rothaus. Acknowledging a mistake just means that you are wiser today than you were yesterday. There is nothing wrong with admitting you're wrong or admitting you made a mistake. It happens every day. We're all human. It is inevitable. It is a part of life. Let's see. There are two ways to face the future. One way is with apprehension. The other is with anticipation. Let me try that again. There are two ways to face the future. One way is with apprehension. The other is with anticipation. Jim Rohn. Oh, from J.M. Barrie. He wrote Peter Pan. Those who bring sunshine to the lives of others cannot keep it from themselves. I'm sure he wrote a lot of other things too, by the way, but that's the one I'm most familiar with. Again, those who bring sunshine to the lives of others cannot keep it from themselves. So there you go. If you are walking sunshine, congratulations, bask in your own glow. All the art of living lies is a fine mingling of letting go and holding on. Havelock Ellis. So all the art of living lies is a fine mingling of letting go and holding on. I have no idea what that means. I'm not even going to attempt that one. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. George Bernard Shaw. That's a good one. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. Going with that, life is really about, uncovering who you are after all of life's conditionings have kind of, for those of you that feel like I need to find myself, I need to do this, I need to do that. Sometimes it's all about, sorry, hold on one second. Sometimes it's all about, uncovering the person that you're meant to be, right? I think sometimes we get lost in the, I need to find myself, and you're not lost, okay? You're just buried and hidden. I mean, this is just my perspective, just my opinion. You're buried and hidden somewhere underneath all of the life's conditionings and stuff. So, okay, so I never know if I say this right, but this is one of my favorite philosophers that I get quotes from. Epictetus? No idea. Epictetus. Epictetus. I'm just saying how it sounds. So, but yeah, I love the quotes from this person. First, say to yourself, what would you be? And then do what you have to do. So there you go. That's one way to uncover who you are. And Edward T. Kelly, every accomplishment begins with a decision to try. If you don't try, you're not going to do it. As Yoda would say, there is no try, there is only do. So there you go. All right, I got a topic today. I was supposed to do it on Tuesday, but I was not feeling well. I hope I can read my own writing. I'm going to be doing a lot of reading here today. So there has been some misconceptions going around that, the fight for gay rights is new. I got news for you. It ain't. It goes way back before Oscar Wilde, but Oscar Wilde was imprisoned for inappropriate sexual relations. Alan Turing, who I think these are in my notes, so I'll get back to those in a second, but I'm just giving you some examples. Like, think of it as like the trailer, right? For the big show. Alan Turing, who really kind of, along with his team, cracked the code of the Enigma in World War II, and effectively gave the Allies a big leg up, was arrested for being gay. You can call it whatever you want, but it was for being gay. And it took until I think 2009 ish, basically this century, for him to be, kind of exonerated from him. The guy had been dead for years and years and years, decades. So this is not a new fight. This is not something because, somebody in some state created a stupid bill, which is ridiculous and dumb. I think, I don't really want to dive into the religious or political aspects of these. I mean, it's probably going to get a little political because politics does play a huge part in all this, but I don't want to really touch on the religious landscape because there are a lot of religions that are very inclusive, very open, very sharing and caring to anybody, regardless of sexual orientation or color or creed or race or whatever. But there are others that, they hide behind certain passages, people that hide behind certain passages. This is wrong, that's not right. They sit there judging the world, but don't like to be judged themselves. And they hide behind the word of God. Now, I do believe in God, but the God I believe in is definitely a benevolent one and not really the one I grew up being taught about. Because that one, I think, it's like saying, oh, you saw me on a bad day, so you just think I'm angry all the time. My opinion is my opinion. And like I said, I'm not going to go into how I feel about the Bible and all this other stuff. I'm not in touch. I grew up very Catholic. I was raised by a very Catholic person, but I was also raised by a agnostic atheist. I know that makes no sense, but if you know my dad, you will understand what I'm saying. But who grew up in an extremely religious household. And then when he was old enough, walked away and said, no, I'm out. So I grew up with a rather interesting perspective on being able to kind of view both things and kind of see different perspectives. So, like I said, I don't want to dive any deeper than that. People have their opinions. I'm just here to share some facts. All right. So, it is Pride Month. And, like I said, I'm a very proud ally of the LGBTQ plus community. I have one of my best friend since high school. It falls under the rainbow flag. I have family that falls under the rainbow flag. I have a lot of friends that fall under the rainbow flag. And because of that, I have chosen to be an ally because I figure, you know what? When we call them soulmates, we call them soulmates, not body mates. It's not who, maybe some people choose to fall in love with the outside and some people stay closeted all their lives because they're afraid of being judged. But the question I have is, when people get all uppity and freaked out by gay people, is it because you're worried about that person, or are you worried about what someone's going to think about you because you know that person? I think that's the real question that needs to be asked. If someone is a parent of a child of a gay person, is it because you're worried about what your friends will think, what other people might think? If people are going to judge you, they're not your friends. If people are going to say, well, your child is going to hell, or your so-and-so is going to hell, that's not a friend. That's not a friend at all. And I'm sorry, I don't buy that. Okay? I mean, there's a lot of sex, violence, and all kinds of crap in the Bible. But no one pays attention to that part. Nobody talks about that part. But like I said, the landscape of the Bible is different for everybody. And I know a lot of good Christians who, are all encompassing, all embracing, all loving, and everything to anybody and everybody. It's the ones who are just the judgmental people of the world that I got a problem with. So one of the big notable, well, let's start with Stonewall. So Stonewall is actually, it happened in June, I believe, June 28th, 1969. And this is actually the precursor and kind of the catalyst for what would become the Pride Parade. And I'm sorry, I feel like I got something just like feathers on my face. What will become, the following year to commemorate the Stonewall riots. And I guess that would be 1970 is when the first Pride Parade was held from, I believe, Stonewall to Central Park. It was actually a protest march. So it wasn't even a parade. But one of the people that coined Pride, forgive me, I cannot remember his name. I should have written it down. He said he thought going for gay power would be, he thought of that first, but then he thought no one really has any real power. Nobody has that ultimate, be all end all power. So he said, I decided to go with pride because we can take pride in ourselves. And that can go for anybody, right? I mean, you see it all the time with every month that celebrates a different culture. You have Mexican pride, Black pride, Asian pride, Pacific Islander pride. Well, Pacific Islanders and everybody all get grouped into one month. So, Asian Pacific Islanders. You see, Mid-Eastern pride and just all these different things. I mean, now the interesting thing is in England, or in the UK, I learned when I visited there that Asians there are actually Mid-Easterners to us here. And they're Asians that we would refer to as Asians here are Orientals. But, here everybody gets all bent out of shape about that term. So, anyways, I digress. So in 1969, the Stonewall riots became a turning point for gay rights. Other notable milestones, like the trial of Oscar Wilde and Alan Turing, along with the assassination of Harvey Milk. These have been some of the more significant building blocks as the LGBTQ plus community continue to fight for equality and continue to fight back against harassment. If I had been on my game, I should have memorized some of this stuff, but these are my words and these are stuff I wrote down. So here's some notable bricks in the LGBTQ plus foundation. In 1895, Oscar Wilde was convicted of having a sexual relationship with another man. I believe he was in jail for 2 years for that, and it was a consensual relationship. It was not anything but the guy was kind of from a well-known family, and the father found out and freaked his ass out. So, Oscar Wilde went to jail. 1952, the conviction of Alan Turing. So, instead of going to jail, he chose probation, and probation was basically chemical castration, which means I believe they just give them an influx of hormones, okay, so that, he's no longer sexually peaking or whatever it is. And honestly, that's just wrong. That's like human torture. 1978, the assassination of gay political figure Harvey Milk in San Francisco. 1969, sorry, I didn't read my arrows. I had these backwards. 1969, Stonewall riots. Patrons and locals push back against police raids. This will eventually lead to gay pride the following year, Gay Pride Parade. And actually, like I said, when it wasn't a gay pride parade at first, it was actually a protest march to commemorate that, to make people, hey, don't forget all this stuff. So here's some other notables. In 1924, okay, this is the first half of the 20th century. Henry Gerber founded the Society for Human Rights that published the country's first gay interest newsletter, Friendship and Freedom, but it was disbanded in 1925 due to numerous police raids. I know. 90 years later, his house was designated as a historical landmark. So in 2014, his house, I believe it was in Chicago, was designated a historical landmark. 90 years. 90 years. Okay? Gay rights is not new. The fight for gay rights is not new. The fight for gay equality is not new. And that's why there's allies. There's allies in every kind of protest. That's why I'm an ally, because I just believe people should be able to live their lives as they want to live. I know that there's some controversy with pronouns and stuff right now, and, the thing I see about the controversy about pronouns and stuff is that there was controversy when gay people were still fighting super hard for their rights. And, for a while it seemed to level out in the first part of this century, and then all of a sudden it got crazy again. In the last couple of years with people being completely just anti-gay. And, so Sibling and I were talking the other day, and I don't know if anyone's ever seen The Help. But I've started to refer to people that, preach one thing but act another way as Hilly. And now Hilly was Skeeter's friend from, from high school, grade school. They all grew up together. But she was a racist that did not realize she was a racist. I mean, she literally tells Skeeter in one scene, Skeeter, there are real racists in this town. But she was one of them. Her separate but equal bullshit. No, there is no separate but equal. You're either equal or you're separate. There's no connection there. You're separate or you're equal. There is no separate and but equal. Okay? And this is the whole gay rights thing. I mean, I know that it's a little bit different to compare it to a civil rights thing, but in a way, this is gay people fighting for their civil rights. Just fighting to be seen, to be heard, to be understood, to be loved, to not be banished or shamed because of their sexual preferences. People love who they love. Love is love. Love is love. I think it's sad when parents disown children because they're gay. I think it's sad when parents send kids to these camps to pray the gay out of them. It's who they're born to be. It's who they are. I think it's sad when people go to jail for being gay. I think it's sad when people get assassinated for being gay. This is why I'm an ally. Because I want to fight against all these horrible things. I want to fight against all these bad ways that people treat each other, period. In any situation. Whether it's race or orientation. So, 1950... Harry Hay founded the Mattachine Foundation. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It is French, so I hope I'm getting it right. One of the nation's first gay rights groups. The LA organization coined the phrase homophile, which was less offensive and less focused on clinical and sexual observations. So instead of homosexual, the homophile. Okay? Because, I'll get to it in a second. 1955, the Daughters of Bilitis founded by 4 lesbian couples, which began publishing the first lesbian publication of any kind, called the Ladder. Sorry, my writing. So anyways, in 1953, President Eisenhower signs a bill forbidding people guilty of sexual perversion from holding federal jobs. This ban would last into the 70s. Now, that's wrong. Duh, right? But there's a lot of people out there going, well, that should be, because, But you know what? Imagine being a gay person who's sitting in an office, looking at everybody sharing their family, looking at everybody, oh, my kids did this weekend, my kids did that this weekend, and they feel tight-lipped because they're afraid of being judged. They can't be open about who they are because maybe they have a wife, or maybe it's a wife or a husband, and they have kids and they don't want to be judged and they don't know who they can trust. There's some places that, will still fire you for being gay in this country. And it's sad. And, it's wrong. I mean, obviously. In 1952, this one is total what the fuck moment. The American Psychiatric Association listed homosexuality as a form of a mental disorder. Seriously. I mean, literally in my notes I put WTF. What the hell? What the hell? A mental disorder? No, it's not a mental disorder. People will slap labels on anything that they can't explain or they don't understand or that scares them. That scares them. Like homosexual. Which is why, like I said, in 1950, or, the LA organization that came out of the 1950, forming of the Mattachine Foundation, came up with homophile. Or just, that's why people more likely go by gays, queer, or lesbian now. Because the other word is just, it's so stigmatizing. It really is. It's stigmatizing. So, anyways, I could go on forever, literally, about all the different things I read. I researched for a couple of hours to find all these things. But what I wanted to talk about is, so a lot of people think that Stonewall was the first real big riot, real big protest. That would be incorrect. It was the first really kind of widely known, publicized one, and because it did eventually lead to, I can't remember which president. I think it was Clinton made a week in June Pride, and I think maybe Obama made June Pride, or one of those. I can't remember which one. But before Pride became a month, it kind of led to that. It was kind of the precursor, the grandfather of the gay pride parade. So, or the grandparents of the gay pride parade. So I think that's why Stonewall really is the most well known. I mean, there's documentaries on it, and there's movies on it, but I think that's why it is the most well known uprising of, so, but here's some other ones. In May of 1958, was the LA Cooper, well, so I guess Cooper Donuts was a huge chain in LA at the time, but the LA Cooper Donuts riot. 2 police officers checking IDs and singling the gays at a sorry, my writing is terrible. So this one is basically 2 police officers, after a night of clubbing and going to bars and stuff, some people went to a donut shop. Now, they say it's the Cooper riots, but later somebody who was actually involved in it said there were so many Coopers that everybody just said, hey, let's go to Cooper's. But it was not actually a Cooper's donut place. It was a donut place. But some of the 2 police officers started singling out some gay people. They started IDing everybody, singling out all the gay people, and started harassing them. And so the people there, gays and not gays, just like, really? Are you insane? They basically just started throwing shit at the police officers. Now, I want to preface this with, I respect good police officers. Okay, we know there are bad apples in every group. Well, maybe not every group, but we know there's a lot of bad apples out there. I am one who actually does support the police. Not in this case, because these are bad apples. But I wanted to put that disclaimer out there so people can say, oh, you're anti-police. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I don't necessarily believe in the back the blue, because there is a brotherhood and a sisterhood in there that I think sometimes needs to come to an end. People protecting bad behavior. And, you see it a lot around here in Southern California where, they're always in the news for something. But if you're doing something wrong, you're going to get caught. Okay. And so the whole point is, don't do anything wrong. The reason I have a problem with the police I'm going to talk about in here is because these people weren't doing anything but living their lives. Okay. All they did was leave a nightclub, go to a donut shop because they still wanted to hang out. They weren't ready to go home yet. Night of drinking, night of partying. Hey, let's go have some coffee and donuts. Let's, just kind of end the evening chill. And instead they get singled out. But instead of being singled out and arrested, people started revolting. Small group of people. They started throwing stuff at the police officers. They said items, which means I'm guessing coffee, donuts, and probably napkins, because what else do you find at a donut shop? So I'm guessing they probably had donuts thrown at them, which, it's kind of ironic, right? But anyways, but yeah, I just want you to know, if you're a good police officer, I have absolutely no disrespect for you, but police is going to come up a lot in this. So that's why I wanted to make that disclaimer. Anyways, the 2 police officers that night got in the car and left. So, yay for the people protecting their friends. Number 2, August 1961. And mind you, May 1958, that was 65 years ago. Okay? 65 years ago. So, not a new thing. August 1961, the Milwaukee Black Night Brawl. 4 sailors entered a gay bar on a dare. They started a fight with the bouncer. They were chased out by gender non-conforming black queen Josie Carter. This lady, that's some chutzpah. She also knocked one of them unconscious. Okay. They came back for retribution with reinforcements. So they came back with more sailors. They were met with resistance, and they began wrecking the place. Okay. They began throwing chairs, breaking things, breaking tables, just throwing shit at the walls. But get this, the charges were dropped for lack of evidence. So you have an entire bar with broken windows, trashed up walls, trashed up furniture, trashed up tables, but there's a lack of evidence. Welcome to the life of a gay person in the 1960s. They couldn't even go out and have fun and party without people giving them shit. And what happens to that bar owner? He has to pay for everything himself. because a bunch of guys went in there on a dare. Oh, haha, funny, funny. Go in there on a dare. And then wreck the place because they got put in their place. Number 3, April 1965, Philadelphia, Dewey's Restaurant Sit-In denied service to 150 people who appeared to be gay or gender non-conforming. 3 teens were arrested, along with Clark Pollock, leader of the James Society, who offered to get the group a lawyer. James Society members protested for the next 5 days. On May 2nd, 3 more staged a sit-in. They were not arrested and left on their own. Dewey's later reversed their policy and allowed gay people and non-conforming genders. Seriously, if you own an establishment and people aren't doing you any harm, it's money. It's money in your pocket. Okay? Again, all these people want is to be left alone and to just, yeah, you're going to have some people who are loud and proud. You're going to have some people who are out there that feel that they need to make as much noise as possible to be seen, to be understood, so that people stop judging them. But 9 times out of 10, what you're going to find are people who just want a nice night out, who just want to be treated like everybody else. So unless you're God or whatever higher power you believe in, you probably shouldn't be judging people. Okay? People who live in glass houses should not throw stones. I certainly don't. I don't throw stones. I'm pretty sure I live in some kind of glass house because I'm judging people right now. And I'm judging people who I deem to be wrong. And other people will look at me and say, well, you shouldn't throw rocks if you live in glass houses. I don't. I try to be a good person. I try to live a good life, but I do get judgy. And I get judgy when I'm trying to protect people. Because, like I said, all they want to do is live their life. I mean, literally, there have been travel warnings just to go to a certain state in the South now. Because they're worried about their own people. Not just gay people, but other races have been given travel warnings to be careful if you go there. All right. So, spring of 1966. This is number 4. Members of the Mattachine Society staged a sip-in New York City. It was against the law to serve LGBTQs in a bar. So they stated they were gay, then demanded bar service. In Greenwich, though, they were denied. And they were finally denied. And this was a place called Julian's. So it's referred to as Julian's Sip-In at Julian's, which had been and the place had been raided a few days earlier. This led to the state quickly reversing the state's anti-liquor laws. So you have to understand, this is why a lot of people had gay bars. Why they had gay nightclubs. Because a lot of places that they would have loved to have gone weren't allowed to serve them. So in a way, the reason police officers were raiding a lot of these places, in my understanding and my perspective, is because these places they probably thought were illegal. Maybe they didn't say, hey, come in, we're a gay bar, we're a gay nightclub. No, they probably didn't say that. But if they found out people were serving gay people, then, they could arrest you, right? So, I don't know, quote a day. So anyways, here's a side note I wrote. They were denied alcohol in these establishments because the liquor laws of New York City considered their gatherings disorderly. Really? Really? I learned yesterday, while watching a TV show, that Americans drink 5.5 trillion gallons of beer a year. Americans, okay? Not anybody else. Americans. You can't tell me 5.5 trillion of them are gay. We see bar fights. We see bar brawls. We see all this stupid shit happening that's fueled by alcohol. I like alcohol. I'm not going to lie. I mean, while I was watching that show it's called The Foods That Built America, and yesterday was about lager and beer. So I broke out a Guinness and drank it while I watched. So, I know. But yeah, so seriously though, disorderly? It's just an excuse. Number 5, 1966. Compton's Cafeteria Riot, a refuge for 6 working trans women who were often faced with intense violence from clients and the police. One day, an officer placed his hand on a trans person. She responded by throwing her coffee in his face. Chaos ensued, and after flying debris, a destroyed police car, and burnt down newsstand, the women were arrested. Now, a lot of people might say, well, that was wrong of her to throw, her coffee in his face and this and that. Now, you have to remember, in the 60s, gay people were still highly marginalized. They're still highly marginalized, especially in certain parts of this country. And it's very specific, and I made sure to write this down. They were often faced with intense violence from clients and the police. Having somebody put a hand on you and you're not looking and you can't, what are you going to do? If somebody walks up to you, you don't recognize their voice, you don't recognize anything, they just put a hand on you. Maybe you're not going to throw the coffee in your face, but you're going to be like, hey, back off. But if you're that tightly wound and you're that afraid from suffering from violence from your clients and the police, it's not totally an unreasonable reaction. It's a fear reaction. Am I defending it? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I want to say yes. Because this is 1966 and I have no idea what it was like to be a marginalized person in 1966. I don't know what it was like to be a black person in 1966 or a gay person in 1966. Or, other marginalized groups. But I can guarantee you, if somebody put a hand on a person of color and someone threw coffee in their face, they'd probably be like, oh, hey, well, they probably would have been arrested too. But people might understand that more because they're not gay. So you have to understand where these people are coming from. They are probably afraid, scared, and yeah, maybe not the safest profession to be in. But when you're a marginalized group and no one will let you be who you want to be, you have to figure out how to make money somehow. So I'm not defending the work choice, but I understand it. Okay, this is really not my opinions on these things. Like whether I defend things or not. I understand why that happened. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying I understand it. So, number 6, 1966 and 67, the LA Black Cat Tavern protests. The bar opened in 1969 and it was a haven for the Silver Lake queer community. But they were still subject to harassment from police enforcing anti-gay laws. So, New Year's Eve 1967, undercover cops tore apart couples celebrating and began brutally beating them. Brutality spread to a neighboring bar where the owner and 2 bartenders were also beaten. 14 people were arrested. 2 men were forced to register as sex offenders for kissing. So, a lot of people watching this know I've had trauma in my life. 2 people sharing their love, to me, is not a reason to be registered as a sex offender. Anti-gay laws are stupid. Anti-marriage acts are stupid. You can hide behind the book all day long. But it's not about the book. It's about a person's inability to be a decent human being and to not worry about being judged by other people that makes them hide behind the word of their higher power. I believe, like I said, I'm a polytheist, so I believe in God, but I also believe in other deities. I do. And I don't know the other deities' total views on other people, but I was raised Catholic. And all I know is that one of the reasons I've always disagreed with, if you commit suicide, you go to hell. If you're gay, you go to hell. Because God created everybody, in my personal opinion. And maybe not everybody. Maybe the other gods had a hand in creating people as well. But whoever God created, he made them in his image, right? So are you going to tell me that because a person, is chemical, it's a chemical thing that makes somebody gay? It's not always just, and sometimes it's a personal choice, but people will say it's a chemical thing. It's how they're born. Just like I'm born, a straight woman. Someone might be born lesbian, or someone might be born transgender. I mean, if you have any questions about transgender, I highly advise following Jazz. Oh gosh, I can't remember her last name. But she has a show on TLC. I think it's on TLC. I Am Jazz. And she knew from being a child that she was not, in the right body. She was born a boy. And she has had gender affirming surgery. She has had to go through therapy to do it. It's not something where they just, force it on you. People put out so many lies and misconceptions. Oh, parents just let their kids do anything. No, you have to go through therapy. I mean, if you want to get a sleeve or you want to get your stomach stapled, you have to go through a 6-week class. And in some doctors will make you go to therapy too, to make sure this is what you want, because it is a lifestyle change. Now, yeah, having a sleeve and having gender affirming surgery are very apples and oranges. But the point is, you have to go through things before. You don't just walk in and say, hey, this is what I want. No, you have to go through steps before you get there. And people don't go there. They just think, oh, they walk right in and that's what they want. It's not like going in and say, hey, I'd like a new set of boobs, or I'd like a new nose, or I'd like a facelift, or I'd like my eyes tucked, or whatever they call it. I don't know. I'm aging gracefully on my own. But yeah, I mean, it's not like that. And even then, I think some people should think about it, because I know people who have decided, they get their boobs done, they're like, well, maybe I shouldn't have gone that big. But when you're small, yeah, I mean, look, I had to gain weight to get boobs. Literally, I was like an AB, probably a small B the majority of my life until I gained weight. And as I'm losing weight, I'm losing my boobs. But that's a whole nother story. But that's my point. There's a lot of misinformation around there. Instead of just taking what somebody says because they're preaching from the choir that you like to listen to, maybe you ought to listen to the other choir and get your facts straight. Period. Because I am sick and tired of going on social media and seeing all this bullshit that is totally incorrect. Do your fucking homework. I was talking to someone the other day and they're like, how do you know all this stuff? It's like, I watch documentaries, I read books, I look at the internet. I mean, you can find anything on the internet, but I don't just take one story for it. If I hear something, I'll look at 3 other things to make sure that it's somewhere near the truth. Because somewhere in the middle is usually the truth. But I also watch a lot of documentaries. I mean, you can watch the same documentary over and over again, done by 5 different people, and you're always going to pick up something new in there. So get your facts straight. That's all I'm asking. I don't mean to be rude. I don't mean to stand on my soapbox and be an asshole. But I'm sick and tired of people putting out misinformation about things. There's laws in certain states that say, you can't teach this, you can't teach that. So now you have marginalized the children of gay parents. And they're going to say, well, that's the parents' fault. No, I'm sorry. So somebody decided to marry who they love. And maybe they already had kids, or, maybe they had a relationship before, because maybe they're straight but not gay, or not straight or gay, they're bi, or what is it, non-binary? I don't know all the terms, I apologize. But there are so many, and I'm learning as I go. But there are people, who just want to live their lives. Who just want to live in the body and be the person that they were born to be. But other people have other ideas. Other people's hiding behind a book have other ideas. And not all people's, okay? I mean, like I said, there are a lot of people out there who are accepting, who are loving, who are just, hey, it's okay. It's okay. I got you. I had somebody very, very close to me. 2 people, actually, when they came out to me. Both of them thought I was one of them started out their text message to me saying, please don't hate me, but. And I'm all like, first, I'm not going to hate you. And secondly, would you like to meet all the gay people I know? I mean, here's the funny part. So my best friend actually said to me once, a long, long time ago, when I said, hey, Laura, who's older sibling, I said, older sibling would love to meet you. And I didn't call her older sibling at the time. I just called her Laura, because this is years and years ago when we were just really like best friends and becoming, we were best friends and becoming like sisters. And they said to me, oh, why? Does she want to meet a gay person? I'm like, dude, this girl knows more gay people than you do. And it's just like, because we marginalize people. Older sibling in the 70s used to march for gay rights. In the 70s, guys. I mean, I was barely walking in the 70s. Okay? Well, I mean, not barely. I was 7 by 1980. But I mean, the point is, I was barely understanding life in the 70s. And here she is out there being spit on, being yelled at, being called all these names because, of some lady out there, right? Who was sitting there going, gays are bad. I mean, she was protesting for people who couldn't protest because if their employers found out that they were gay, they would be fired. And so she went out there. I mean, she knew a transgender girl who, or boy, I can't remember. In fact, I can't remember their name. It's like all the names are escaping me, but I think that's on purpose because I don't want to give anyone's thing away. But I mean, this is stuff in the 70s. That was 50 years ago. Okay, well, or coming up on 50 years ago. This whole decade now is dedicated to everybody being born in the 70s turning 50. And I've just reached there this year. But we're talking 50 fucking years and we're still fighting this. We're talking 60 some odd years and we're still fighting for civil rights for people of color. What is wrong with us? This country is 247 years old. And we're still, sometimes I think we're so advanced. And then when I look at the way we treat each other, I think, wow, this took other countries hundreds of years to get to this point. And we're still so far behind. I mean, so far behind. A lot of people who like to marginalize people will sing the song Amazing Grace. How many of you actually know the story of Amazing Grace? So I had to look this up in several different books because I wanted to make sure I got this right. And they made a movie about it. But to sum it up, there was a man who was, I believe he was either a slave owner or a slave trader. Sorry, all my facts, because I'm so focused on this stuff right now. All my facts are just kind of floating out of my brain. But he was walking by one day and he heard all this beautiful singing. And he goes in and he looks and he sees all these black people just praising God. And it was almost like an epiphany for him. These people are being sold. They're being horribly treated. And yet still, they have faith. They put their faith in God. And he kind of did like a 180. And quit all that stuff. Did all this other stuff. And the song Amazing Grace was born out of that. And if you really stop and listen to the words, think about it. In fact, it was interesting because I found a book that I got from my mom. Actually, I took it after she passed. And it's God, I'm Having Issues. And it's how to pray. And there was one right next to worry. I looked it up and I said, well, because I am like a chronic worrier. And they're in this book right here. I found a bookmark. My mom has been gone for almost 9 years now. And in this book, under God, I'm Worried, I found a bookmark for Amazing Grace. If that was not a sign of her telling me, just, you gotta have faith. You gotta have faith. So, we need to stop hiding behind books. We need to stop hiding behind, the preached word. We gotta stop promoting hate on all levels. We gotta stop saying, oh, people are so woke. Do any of you even understand what that word actually means? It was a word that really kind of made prominence in the 60s. The 60s, okay? Not recently, the 60s. In regards to seeing and understanding and fighting against social injustice. It's based on like awoken. Somebody was awoken from their slumber of stupidity. Well, that's not what they said. That's what I said. But that's where it came from. But a certain group of people have decided to take the word and marginalize it and use it as kind of like the big new F word. When they're misusing it on every turn. It's about fighting social injustice. And all those people, I would call them a bunch of hilly Holbrooks, because you know what? Separate but equal. There are real racists in this town. Those are words right out of that book and right out of that movie. And yeah, it's a fictional account of someone else's life, actual life. But this is stuff that really happened. These are people who are really marginalized. And, you know, there are two different types of civil rights wars going on right now. People of color and gay people. Now, imagine being a gay person of color. That's even harder. You know, because they have to fight the stigmas of their own cultures. Why do we do this to people? Why do we see someone and figure they're different, so we're going to hate them, we're going to marginalize them, we're going to be angry at them, we're going to treat them like crap? So the last one was number 7. This is a year before Stonewall. In 1968, at the Patch Bar, the Flower Power protest. So an LGBTQ bar, the Patch, in Wilmington, California, owned by Lee Glaze. He would play God Save the Queen when police were entering the bar as an announcement for everyone to be normal. So when he knew police that he could see, not undercover, but could see, were coming in, he'd play that song, God Save the Queens, and be like, okay, we're all back to normal. We're all being us. On August 17th, 1968, 2 undercover cops left and returned with uniformed officers. Those officers fanned out and checked IDs to see if they matched the holders' outer features. That's discrimination. 2 patrons were arrested for lewd conduct, which was not the case at all. Glaze knew that the men were innocent, and he led a crowd to buy flowers in massive quantities from a nearby patron of who was also a patron of the bar. They went to the police station and camped in the waiting room until bail was posted. My note on that, flower power indeed. But I'm not sure where the whole flower part came from. Oh, well, no, I know what it was. I talked to Sibling a lot because she was a flower child. And you know, this is one thing. If you know older people, ask them about history. I mean, Sibling and I are 15 years apart. There's a lot happening in those 15 years. I mean, President Kennedy was assassinated. His brother was assassinated. Martin Luther King was assassinated. Malcolm X was assassinated. And I asked her all these things. You know, we hear in the history books about all these things. But what was going through your head? What were you feeling? You know, my mom told me when she found out that President Kennedy had passed away or was assassinated, the whole day just felt like a blur. I remember we heard it in home period because my mom grew up in Hawaii, right? Which was about, 5 hours behind, about that time, it probably would have been about 4 hours behind Texas. But you know, so when she found out, it was early morning, I was in homeroom, and we all just were in shock or crying. My teacher couldn't even teach the rest of the class because we were all just, I can't remember if she said they were sent home or not. They might have been. I don't know. But the flower power protest, the flower power movement was different from being a hippie. Hippies were the more political types of flower children, right? They were like the ones that stood on their soapbox and, oh, let's fight, anti-war, this and that. The flower children were really the ones make love, not war, right? And some of the hippies were like that. But like I said, my understanding is the separation between the two is that the hippies were more political. So I am more of a flower child. I don't really like getting into politics. I know I get on my soapbox every so often, but that's because every so often I just get so out of my mind with some of the shit I see on social media that I can't help it. And I feel like in my own small way, if I can put some kind of truth and honesty out there, but I mean, I can't believe that one day what I saw when they said, oh, well, this whole gay rights thing is it's new just because somebody's talked about children and stuff like that. And it's like, you are literally living in a bubble, person. You are living in a fucking bubble. And I admit, there's a lot of things I didn't know. I didn't know any of this. I didn't even know about Stonewall until recently. I didn't know about the massacre of all the black people in Oklahoma. Oh, they call it the riots, but that was not riots. When you're being attacked from the skies and from the ground, no, that's not a riot. That's what they want to, that's the narrative they want to make people think that these people deserved it, but they didn't. They were successful. That's why they were being bombed out. That's why their houses and their businesses were being set on fire. But that's a story for another day. But we're talking about marginalized people, right? We're talking about how history has a tendency to change the narrative to fit a better look. But none of us are perfect growing up. We've all done dumb things. This country's still young. We've done a lot of dumb things. I always love when people come up to me and say, do you realize that we lost more people in the Civil War than any world war combined? And it's like, I always look at them and I'm all, think about that comment for a second. It's because we were fighting each other. Duh. How do you not lose a lot of people when you're killing your own people? Good Lord. And then it's kind of like, oh yeah, I never really think about that. But it's because we hear it from somewhere else. And we think, whoa. But we never stop to question it. My upbringing was about questioning everything. And sometimes it backfires. Because, maybe you question a little too much. Maybe you overthink a little too much about things. But I'm standing on my rainbow soapbox. Because I care about my friends. I care about my family. I care about the people I don't know out there. Who are being hurt. Who are being marginalized. Who are being, gunned down and killed around the world. Just for being gay. Just for, loving somebody that kind of fits their description. I'm sorry, unless God comes down and says that it's bad, or any other God at my table or goddess at my table and says it's bad. No. When I hear it from their mouths, yeah. But when I hear it from somebody who's spouting words out of a book that, in my opinion, is an attempt to, kind of keep people in order. It's a rule book. It's a guidebook. It could be a guidebook. But it's guiding people in the wrong way of thinking. And then it's like, I remember somebody said to me once, well, you need to make sure that your family member finds Jesus and accepts them in their heart, or they're going to hell and you'll never see them again. It's like, who says that to people? And they're all like, because, they have to accept Jesus as their Lord and Savior. And I'm all like, well, what happens to all the Jewish people then? Because they, from my understanding, see Jesus as more of a prophet, but not their Lord and Savior. Well, they couldn't answer that. They just went blank face like, oh. I had another person recently tell me, when it came to religion, they said to me, I said, well, I believe in a lot of different deities. Oh, well, I can't do that because all they do is promote hate. They, none of them make sense and none of them align. And, and I'm sitting here thinking, what are you talking about? The majority of religions are about peace and finding that zen inside of you, right? About being kind to one another. But this is what they're taught. And then, like I said, there are a lot of other people out there. Polytheists, who believe in more than one God, or just people who believe in God or who have a higher power, that just say, hey, you know what? You're welcome. You are welcome in my home. You are welcome in my house of worship anytime you want. And you don't have to hide who you are. You can just be who you want to be. That's the kind of people we need to be. We need to stop finding reasons to be angry with one another. We need to stop finding reasons to, sit there and, my dad and I were talking about the Bible the other day, and I said, I said, I don't have a problem with people believing in the Bible. What I have a problem with is people who whack people upside the head with it. My dad has read the Bible from cover to cover. He was raised in a very specific, strict religion. And like I said, because of that, it pushed him in the other direction. Now sometimes he believes there's a higher power. Sometimes he believes there's nothing out there. And, I'm not here to convince him otherwise. I'm not here to convince other people otherwise. What I'm trying to say is, read about the benevolent God in the good book. Don't just run around spewing hate, because you're no better. If you're running around marginalizing people and hating people because a book tells you to, a book written by a bunch of men tell you to, then you need to have a better relationship with God. I pray. People probably saying, yeah, well, you don't have you're going to hell. That's fine, because I know where I'm going. I'm going to a place where there's a lot of like-minded people like me who accepts everybody. I don't marginalize people because I'm afraid. Come on. I know people that that are straight, that freak out when somebody gay hits on them. I've been hit on by lesbians. I don't care. I personally find it flattering. I had one girl that said, here's my number. If you change your mind and decide to play for my team, let me know. And I told her, I said, you be the first one I call. But it's not in my DNA. And I don't mean DNA like genetic makeup. I mean, that's just a term I'm using. I prefer men. But I'm very flattered by it. Because somebody's seeing in you something that just, it makes you feel good inside. And, I can't push myself into a direction. I can't push myself into a hole that I don't fit in. But like I said, I find it very flattering. I do. And it just really kind of ramps up my efforts to be a good ally to the LGBTQ plus IA plus, I don't know, to that community, to the rainbow flag community, to everybody that falls under all the different colors of the rainbow flag. They're new flags. There's a lot of new flags out there. And they're kind of combining it with the rainbow flag. But I think the best way to be a good human is to just love somebody for who they are. To accept somebody for who they are. If they're an asshole, no matter what their race, color, creed, sexual orientation is, then they're an asshole. Walk away. You don't have to like them, but that doesn't mean everybody's like that. That's like a person walking into a place saying, oh, you're the only straight person here. Why are you here? And getting all defensive. When you're probably like the super ally and you're just kind of like, what? I'm just here to help. I'm just here to be with my people. I'm just having dinner with my folks, or not my folks, but my friends, my people. Just be kind. Be kind. It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot to be a good human being. Sometimes I sit there and I tell sibling when I hear some of these people that are attacking other people just for being gay or for being a person of color or, in recent years just being Asian, right? And I told them, I said, boy, they got a lot coming to them when they die. They're in for a big surprise, a big shock. And yeah, I'm not all knowing, but I know what's in my heart. And I actually thought I'd be more passionate about this, but I think this is why I didn't do it Tuesday. My thoughts were so discombobulated that I think I just would have not really butchered this, but I think I would have really gone off the deep end and just really shown my anger. So I think maybe that's why maybe something told me, hey, no, we're just gonna, I think maybe Archangel Gabriel just came in here and said, I'm turning off your brain because you need to be a little more level-headed when you do this. Because I'll be honest with you, I am sick and tired of seeing the hatred that I see on social media. I'm sick and tired of, when you stand up for something, somebody says, oh, you're one of those people. And it's like, you know what? Fuck you. And that's both sides. That's both sides. I see it from the right. I see it from the left. I see it, I'm like, not the centerists. I see it from the far ends. Where they just think, oh, well, you're a fucking idiot because you believe this, that, or the other. But they don't listen to anybody else. Scoot a little towards the middle. Okay? Scoot a little bit towards the middle. You don't have to come all the way to the center, but come a little more to the center where you actually get the right information. But right now, I see it more from the far right than anywhere else. And yes, I'm going to just say that out loud. All right? I see some of these posts on Twitter that just fucking blow my mind. And it's like, where are you getting this shit from? And people saying, oh, well, this group of people says it. Well, you know what? Sometimes we make bad choices. I have made choices in my life that I regret. And that I can't change and I can't take back. And they really did kind of change my life. But I can't change that. I can't take that back. But I'm not going to hate other people for doing it. I'm not going to hate people because they're different from me. They're not different to them and their friends. They're just different from me. So why do we continually choose to be angry about things? It's like people just need an outlet to be angry. And then you have all these trolls out there that are just so full of vitriol and hatred that just really kind of fuel all these fires. It's like the battle of good and evil is happening on social media. And sometimes I choose to partake. And I mean, not directly. I made that mistake a few times. And I've been thrown into the fire. Not of my own doing. But, so that, I try not to do that anymore because my mental health doesn't need that. I don't need that. It's not that I'm not willing to fight the battle. You want to fight a battle with me? Let's go toe to toe, face to face. Then we'll talk. But don't come at me on a place where you can block me, where you can censor me, where you can do this, that, or where you have a bunch of other people who are like-minded like you that are going to pounce on me and verbally beat the shit out of me. When all I'm doing is sharing my opinion. I'm not saying it's fact. I'm just sharing an opinion. I'm just sharing what I've heard versus what somebody else might have heard. But when you get a group of people together, it's like the village going after Frankenstein. Well, let's kill the monster. Or not Frankenstein. Well, they did go after Dr. Frankenstein, but they also went after his monster. And the monster, in a way, could be a really good metaphor for what we do to people nowadays. The monster had no idea. He didn't ask to be, rebuilt and reborn. Shocked into life. Maybe what we can take from Mary Shelley's writing of that, right? It kind of goes into today. Frankenstein's monster is really kind of a metaphor for all the hatred and stuff, of stuff we do not understand. Things that we think people make up, that we think people create. And we become the angry villagers that go with pitchforks and torches after something and scare the shit out of it. Because we don't understand it. Because, we misunderstand things. We see the wrong things. The Green Mile was a really good example, right? So you had one guy in jail who's like this totally crazy ass dude who killed these two little girls. Look, this book is 30 years old, okay? If you haven't read it yet, that is not my problem. So, anyways, but oh god, I can't think of his name either. I've read this book like 3 times and I've seen the movie a million times, but I cannot think of his name. But I know Michael Clark Duncan played him in the movie. But his character was a healer and he was trying to heal the little girls. But because he was a black man in the South, guess what happened? He got put on trial and thrown into prison and then thrown onto the Green Mile. When the other guy, a couple of cells down, was the one who did it. Some white dude, right? Now, I'm not singling out white people. I'm just saying. But why? Because we marginalize people. Because we automatically think that if they look like this, they do this, they do this, they do this, they're bad. And why? Because it's taught. It's taught. And that's what we're teaching the kids of today. Some of these people out there. They're teaching children how to hate. The other day I was reading an article about how some protesters were sitting outside of Disneyland Orlando with Nazi flags. Are you fucking kidding me? Hitler died like 78 years ago. But this is still happening. All these people that think they're right. I literally, sibling and I were watching a documentary where this guy literally said, well, I don't have anything against black people. I just don't think they should live in the South. I'm sorry. Who brought them here? They've made their lives here, and yet they're still fighting the same battle. And I know I'm all over the place on this. I do. I know that I'm going in every direction. This started out as gay pride, but we're going to all kinds of civil rights now. Because we gotta be better people. We have to be better people. We can't keep marginalizing people because we are afraid of them. All right? I had trauma as a child from someone close to my family. But gay people get marginalized as groomers. This person groomed me when I was 4 years old. 4 years old. And for the next 8 years, this is what I had to struggle with. And it's like, seriously? But you're worried about drag queens? Fuck you. All right? I mean, even Hamburger Mary said, yeah, some of our content may be a little not child friendly. But we let the parents know ahead of time. But he's all right, like adult humor, right? You bring your kid to a comedy club, you're going to hear all kinds of shit. You're going to hear all kinds of stuff. Rated R movies have sex in it. Okay? I mean, you think your kid's not sneaking downstairs and watching that shit on Cinemax? Good luck. Or on the internet, where everything is available nowadays. We have to teach our kids better. And we have to be better. We have to be kind to one another. We shouldn't be picking and choosing who we decide to be kind to. We should be kind to one another. And like I said, I don't care what if you're an asshole, you're an asshole. Period. Okay? And there are people of all across the spectrum that can be assholes. So just ignore them. But that doesn't mean everybody like them is. I'm a half-breed. That doesn't mean all half-breeds are assholes or outspoken like me. A lot of them are actually very quiet. I mean, I spent a lot of my life trying to figure out where I fit in. Because growing up, I didn't really fit in. I wasn't white enough. I wasn't Asian enough. I wasn't European enough. I wasn't Hawaiian enough. I know what it feels like on a very smaller level to be marginalized. And it sucks. It blows. And then one day I just decided, you know what? I don't need to fit in anywhere. As long as I fit in my life, the people that love me, the people that care about me. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. I mean, I get mistaken for other cultures all the time. But I mean, I'm half Filipino, Hawaiian, and European British. With a little bit of African American. Yeah, I got 4.1% African American, straight out of Africa. Because of my great-great-grandfather. Great-great-great-grandfather. So, there you go. There you have it. Okay. I'm putting my soapbox away now. Tomorrow will be Aloha Oracle Friday. Tomorrow will be a travel day, so I'm actually going to start my show at 8 o'clock tomorrow instead of 8:30. So if you'd like to join me tomorrow at 8 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live, All Lives Are Public under Shelly Marie. If I offended anyone today, I do apologize. But if I offended you because you think I'm wrong, then you know what? I'm sorry. You're welcome to disagree with my opinion, but if I offended you, that's on you. And yeah, I'm saying that's on you. Because I don't mind when people disagree with my opinions. Because I know sometimes I can go a little overboard on my soapbox. But everything that I've said today, I don't think is wrong. I really don't. I don't think we should be treating people or marginalizing other people just because of their choices. Like I said, if a person's a jerk or an asshole or a straight up douchebag, yeah, I get it. Walk away. No problem. But if you're marginalizing someone just based on what you've learned about things, or just because, maybe they're a person of color, or maybe they're gay, or maybe they're trans, or maybe they fall under the rainbow flag, or, they're not white enough for you, or they're not dark enough for you, or, whatever. Because I don't care what anybody says. We need to treat each other better. Period. I have been mildly marginalized again, like I said, because I am a Hapa kid, a half and half, you know, and I see other kids. I belong to a site called the Hapa group, where there's a lot of different kids, a lot of, we're all half something and half of this, and how they're marginalized and how they felt like they didn't fit in growing up, or how people made fun of them, or they found out one parent was this color, so their friends wouldn't talk to him anymore. And I'm not naming colors, because it was both sides. Like I said, we just have to be better. We have to treat each other better. We have to teach our children and the children around us better, to just be accepting and to be loving of one another, to love a person's vibe and their soul and their light, and not judge them for other things. You might be missing out on a lot of good friendships. That's the sad part. So anyways, again, off my soapbox. Sorry. I hope everybody has a great day. Please take care of yourselves. Think about what I've said today. I know I was kind of all over the place, but sometimes when I get on my soapbox, I get a little, but yeah, these things are not new. These words that we use are not new. And when they're not new and they're 50 or 60 years old, we have to start thinking, what are we doing wrong that we're still repeating the mistakes that we made in the past? That's something to leave you on. So again, tomorrow, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time is a travel day for me, so I'm doing the show half an hour early because it is Oracle Friday, and Oracle Friday tends to go for a while, and I need to make sure I am out of my house by a certain time. So, yeah, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. If you do not watch Aloha Oracle Friday and you are a parent, happy Father's Day, because Father's Day is this weekend, in whatever manner that you are a father, whether it's a step parent, adopted parent, maybe you're a mom who covers both, in whatever capacity that you serve as a father. Happy Father's Day. And for everybody else, I'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for indulging me while I stood on my soapbox. Have a great day.